Deputy Taoiseachs.
Good, Count Corley. Taoiseach, notwithstanding the very good work being undertaken as part of the North East Inner City initiative, there are big problems in the North East Inner City, as we all know, similar to the issues in my own area that need to be addressed. There has been a big increase in illegal dumping in the area since the disastrous privatisation of bin collections. Antisocial behaviour is on the rise and gangs are openly selling drugs on street corners. There is also a big problem, not just in the inner city, but in many other areas of quads and scramblers being illegally driven around housing estates and green areas. I was disappointed a bill I brought to regulate these vehicles was voted down by this government and by Fianna Fáil. Residents are living in fear and there doesn't appear to be a strong guard of visibility. We have raised this lack of visibility with the Gardaí and the Minister, but given that there are 54 less Gardaí in the north central area compared to a decade ago, then this is the consequence. That is something that must be corrected. Given the lack of affordable and social housing in the city, there is a growing culture of 2- and 3-family generations sharing single homes in overcrowded conditions. This is having a very negative impact on people's physical and mental health, on children's education and social development, and it's a big contributory factor in many of the problems in the north inner city. We have to get to grips with the massive housing issues across the area and right across Dublin. There are also a lot of abandoned historical buildings in the inner city, which are major eyesores for residents and visitors. Buildings like Alborough House and the former Magdalen Laundry site on Sean McDermott Street.
Thank you, Deputy.
There is a lack of imagination and political will in terms of how these buildings could be developed and for the local community, as opposed to simply serving the interests of private developers.
Deputy Martin.
Minister, Shane Ross is a member of the Independent Alliance and is the Transport Minister. Many of our citizens have unfortunately over the years had to emigrate to find employment or better wages, our nurses being a topical example. Emigrants are being encouraged to bring their skills home, and rightly so. However, emigrants returning home face considerable obstacles settling back into society. Returning emigrants face discriminatory pricing by motor insurance companies, with costly premiums having returned to Ireland. I have recently been dealing with cases of returning emigrants being quoted exorbitant car insurance quotes. This is a ridiculous situation, and these obstacles will not encourage people to return home to Ireland, but will be another reason not to do so. This needs to be urgently rectified if we are to encourage our emigrants to bring their much sought-after skills home. Legislation needs to be brought forward to remove such discriminatory practices after returning immigrants. Taoiseach, you should use your influence with this Minister to look at this issue, because this is a very important issue. Thank you.
I want to get everybody in. Deputy Ellis.
Taoiseach, this afternoon the British Prime Minister is due to update the Westminster Parliament on the state of Brexit talks. She is supposedly going to tell MPs, hold tough. It is absolutely vital, Taoiseach, that you stand firm in the face of this last-ditch attempt by the British Government to renegotiate the backstop. It is our only insurance policy to prevent a hard border on this island, and is supported by the majority of citizens, businesses and other key sectors across the entire island. Any retreat would jeopardise Irish interests, the peace process and the Good Friday Agreement. With the exception of the Unionist parties, there is political consensus, north and south, on the need to protect the backstop. The actions of the British Government in seeking to ditch it are not only an act of bad faith, but have made the prospect of a no-deal situation much more likely. In the event that a no-deal situation transpires, Taoiseach, the Government must immediately begin preparing for a referendum on Irish unity. A unity referendum is consistent with the Good Friday Agreement, and if passed, would see the entire island retain membership of the European Union. It is common sense. It's a common sense alternative to a no-deal scenario. People voted for it, voted for this to remain in the EU.
And thanks for cooperating at the time. Deputy Martin.